What's going on, Foot Clan?
Foot Clan assemble!
Before we get this show started today, I want to invite you to head over to footclanvote.com. It's that time of year where you can nominate the Fantasy Footballers Podcast for the People's Choice in Sports and Recreation Podcast of the Year Awards.
Make sure when you go to footclanvote.com, you check the box that says you want to be one of the voters, because then that's how you vote.
Yeah, and help us take home a third consecutive People's Choice. And I promise if you do that, we won't ever ask you again. Let's get this show on the road.
Hey, this is Allen Robinson, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome. So good to be here.
Whew, yes, it is.
Jay Griz in the house.
Looking handsome and cardboardy.
You know what's funny about this today? Now, Mike is not here.
Thank
Jay
goodness.
Griz is here, and I kid you not. You know where Mike is?
Where's Mike?
Big Bear Lake.
Oh, so they've changed
They've
roles.
switched spots. He is actually, Mike is knee deep in the river water right now,
Catching salmon.
attempting to catch salmon with his mouth.
Right. And Jay Griz is here
He's
to
here.
give us all of his hot grizzly takes.
He has his Bears mug. He has a what seems to be a Matt Forte action figure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good. No, we have a great show for you today, Jason and myself. Brooks is here. How you doing, Brooks?
Terrific.
Oh.
He's doing great. We have top 20 players on the show today.
Yeah, everybody loves top lists.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. We have a good quick question. A lot going on these days. A big announcement. We are moving to 3 shows a week.
Heck yeah. You got a Saturday show coming this week?
You do?
What about next week?
Yep.
After that?
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man.
And then we'll be 5. If you don't know the schedule, we'll be 5 shows a week from August through December.
So
That's over 1 million shows.
Wow. Oh, man. I got to start working out. Get my energy level up for a million shows this
Now
season.
you're on to keto now. Is this correct?
Yes, it is correct.
Do you want this brought up publicly so you're
Sure.
accountable to the Foot Clan?
Sure. Yeah.
Full
Mike,
ketosis.
Mike has lost some weight on keto. I am joining him on the Jay Griz Meat Lovers diet.
So from psychosis to ketosis.
That's right. Well, I don't lose the psychosis. From psychosis to psychosis and ketosis.
Okay, that'll be someone help me. Help me, Brooks. I'll be in trouble. Both keto guys, and then I'm just sitting here.
Omaha Steaks just had too good a deal. We just had
This just means I have nowhere to go for lunch. All right, here's the quick question of the day for today's episode of the Fantasy Footballers. All right, this one comes from Jay Griz. Which Bears player do you like best at their current ADP, their current average draft position?
Give us the list.
Yeah, I was going to say, here's the average draft position of the Bears players in PPR leagues right now. Jordan Howard in a PPR league is 303. Tariq Cohen, 605. Allen Robinson, 406. Anthony Miller, 1404. So almost
14th
undrafted.
round.
Taylor Gabriel, undrafted. Trey Burton, Trey Boo Boo, 802. And then Mitch Trubisky's a 14th round pick in that league format. So at their current average draft position, who's the best value on the Bears roster?
There's really, I'll be honest, there's only a couple guys here that I actually like at their draft position. I know a lot of people like Allen Robinson in the 4th. I'm
I
still
think we're
worried.
going to have identical opinions here.
Yeah, I'm not a big Allen Robinson fan. I would say at their ADP, I actually do like Jordan Howard. I'm not super high on Jordan Howard this year as a guaranteed, RB1. Granted, that's all he's been his entire career. But in the 3rd round, he's priced with the risk.
3rd round is great.
It's a really good price. You've got Matt Nagy coming in,
Give
revolutionizing
me some goal line carries.
the offense from old curmudgeon-y defense.
Speaking of psychosis,
such a lousy offensive-minded system that's been in place for the Bears, and now you've got that Todd Gurley effect. I thought Jordan Howard would skyrocket this year because of what happened to Todd Gurley, where the old curmudgeon-y offense left, the new offensive mind came in. Todd Gurley went from mediocre to the number one running back. I thought more of that narrative would happen towards Jordan Howard, but his pass-catching deficiencies have hedged.
The presence of Tarik Cohen, an actual viable alternative in the backfield, and the lack of kind of big play ability of Jordan Howard, I think those are the reasons why that hype isn't there. I like Trey Burton's ADP at 802. Mm-hmm. I'm fine with that. My pick would still be Jordan Howard at 303, so I'm with you on that. Jordan Howard being drafted as the 15th running back off the board. Now, this is a PPR format, so a little less attractive. But I still think the goal line carries are going to be there for him, and if you read anything into the changeover at offense, I think he could be a value.
Yeah, the reality is when it comes to his rushing ability, he's been a great running back, and that's been against stacked boxes and a lousy offense. When you have an offense that opens it up, maybe he almost certainly will get fewer carries this season, but he will be more efficient with a creative offense.
And he's a good player.
Right, that's what I mean.
He's
just a good ball player.
If you want to follow the show over on YouTube and tune in to Jay Griz and Company, you can do so at youtube.com/thefantasyfootballers. The Twitter is at the FFBallers. The website's thefantasyfootballers.com. There are always great new articles being written by our, dare I say, crack staff.
Oh, you dare.
There's a Jared Goff QB1 article, as in, can he repeat as a QB1? Josh Doxson article just came out. There's an article about rules that you should eliminate from your fantasy league to, do what we always say, have a little more fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy your league.
It's a holistic approach to fantasy footballers.
And then, obviously, the Ultimate Draft Kit is out. It's available. We're going to get into the news here in a minute. We've already made adjustments based on that news that I'm excited to talk about. And you can always leave us a review, subscribe over at Apple Podcasts. Google Podcasts is out now, too.
Yes, absolutely. Download it. I don't think it's native in your iOS yet, but you can, or in your iOS, in your operating system.
Well done.
But, you can download the Google Podcast app. And speaking of subscribing and giving reviews.
Yes, we do have a bit of an announcement.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool announcement.
It is. Look, we've recorded, what show is this, Brooks? 562 episodes of the Fantasy Footballers podcast. And we when we set out to build this podcast, it was built on 3 foundational principles. We wanted to be accurate, which I would say we have been, and will continue to be. We have entertaining. We want to entertain you. We don't want to drone on. We want you to enjoy the show. But we've always tried to take those entertaining moments and rein them in, not let them dominate the show.
No, this is a fantasy football win your league championship podcast.
However, we are ridiculous human beings, and throughout the week we have various debates at lunchtime or throughout the day, and so we flip the microphone on for those.
Yeah, once an hour.
Once an hour, huh?
Whoa, then we're doing it all the time.
Once a week for 1 hour,
there you go.
We are releasing a new podcast.
The Spitballers podcast. You can go to spitballerspod.com or Twitter.
Yeah, I would just pull open your Apple Podcast app.
That's the better way.
I would type Spitballers in, and I would subscribe, and I would listen. Once a week, we debate ridiculous topics. It's a weekly dose of nonsense. It's family-friendly, so you can listen in the car with your kids. If you want 1 extra hour of content,
entertainment
that we are vastly unprepared for, I promise you.
We have no idea what we're doing.
We flip the mics on, we talk for an hour, and we turn them off and do it again the next week.
Every Monday, a new episode hits. So, we don't have a Footballers episode on Mondays yet. Now you got something to listen to. Start your week off right.
Yes.
Spitballers podcast.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, Jameis Winston officially suspended for 3 games by the NFL. He will not appeal, and he came out and said, look, I need to be better.
Yeah, I appreciated his response.
I appreciate not appealing.
Right.
Along with that.
Yeah, he's not appealing. He recognized that he was in the wrong, that he needs to do better. He claimed that he has got alcohol out of his life, which was obviously a big factor. Those are what you want to see your franchise quarterback do, and it's what he needs to do considering that the NFL followed up and said, look, a future violation of the personal conduct policy, you might get banned. And that is not where you want your franchise quarterback to be. So I expect that this will stay 3 games as he's not appealing. It gives us a little bit of clarity for the season.
They were in trouble, and now they have an excuse for it because they were starting the season against New Orleans in New Orleans and then back-to-back games with Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. This was likely an 0-3 team. Now it's nearly certainly an 0-3 team to me.
How dare you?
I don't care if it's Ryan Fitzpatrick or
magic.
Griffin, who's getting publicity now, which is what you want, right? You want a no-name quarterback to get publicity.
He better be from Gryffindor if he wants to pull out victories.
Yes, magic required. Look, this team, I said it before we knew for certain that Winston was going to be suspended. It could unravel quickly. Carolina's good. New Orleans is good. Atlanta's going to compete. That's 6 games in your division, and I just think that there's trouble on the horizon. I'm adjusting my hope for Ronald Jones just on the basis that I'm worried that the wheels are going to fall off. Dirk Cutter's going to be out the door, and we're going to be talking about, does Tampa Bay invest in a quarterback?
Yeah, no, they're not going to. The way that Winston has handled this, I actually think Winston is going to be a waiver wire wonder. I really, really like Jameis Winston this season as a whole once he's back. Obviously, his end-of-season rankings won't be that good because he's going to miss 3 games guaranteed. That's if he plays every game, if he's healthy. And so he'll be on the waivers, but when you pick him up after a slow start for Tampa Bay, you saw last season there was a slow start and he got cooking. He's fine for fantasy. We've said that forever. I don't think he's a great NFL quarterback, but he's going to win some games off the waiver wire. It's yet another great reason to stream the position late. You know he's going to be there in going into week 4.
The Colts running back Robert Turbin, or as he calls himself, Turbo,
okay,
has been suspended for 4 games because of a performance-enhancing drug violation. If you read his write-up, which he refers to himself as Turbo, he apologized to the city, to the fans, to the organization. This makes it harder for me to vehemently dislike Mac.
Yes, come to me.
However, this is an opportunity to me for Jordan Wilkins.
Absolutely. To
step up into a first and second down type of role. He'll split time. I think Mac is obviously somebody that benefits from this suspension. When I was looking at our projections for this backfield, I actually had Turbin with the most carries before the season. What's funny is this suspension completely changed the equation for Turbin on the entire year because I think what happens now is you have Hines and Mac and Wilkins with the opportunity to establish themselves. For all I know, Turbin will get 90 carries or 50 carries on the year.
Yeah,
so it wipes his value out.
Turbin is going to have to fight his way back into relevance, and there are at least 3 running backs that will get the shot ahead of him. So, yeah, Turbin is now irrelevant, and maybe 4 running backs if this pushes Christian Michael back into the
Or
do
they go out and they look at a guy like DeMarco Murray?
Certainly could, but I am on record. I want it said I do actually like Marlon Mack. I think he is better than what we saw last year. And if their offensive line is improved and Andrew Luck is back, I think Marlon Mack will be a value. He's going.
Did you say Paul Perkins?
I maybe I did, but I don't believe it is the case because Paul Perkins. I get the parallels, right? Paul Perkins was a guy that you didn't see
Jackson.
You didn't see the talent, but the opportunity was unbelievable.
Well, Perkins, you saw him flash in the passing game last year, and then that's why people were hyped up for him in New York.
But I think Marlon Mack is more talented than Paul Perkins.
I know. We'll probably debate that until
we find out.
Till we find out for certain. Any other news you guys want to get into, Brooks? No? Anything going on?
Nah.
Okay.
All right, let's get into the top 20 players.
20 players. So this is our consensus top 20. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we're not just talking top running backs, top wide receivers, top quarterbacks. It's basically our overall mixed in flex ranking, if you will, which of course will only be running backs and wide receivers because, for someone else to crack the top 20, that would be Gronk alone with that ability. And this is consensus. This isn't mine. This isn't Andy's. This isn't Mike's, but it does include all 3. And we'll kind of, where we deviate from one another, we'll highlight that for you.
All right, number 20. We'll count them down. Devonta Freeman comes in at number 20. Right now, his average draft position is about 18. So we're a couple behind on his ADP. Here's an interesting tidbit on Devonta Freeman, who obviously had incredible 2015 and 2016 seasons where he was the number 1 and number 6 running back. Under Steve Sarkisian last year, his targets dropped from 65 to 47. His red zone carries dropped from 27 to 19. Not a great indication of, I guess, confidence in Devonta Freeman and his ability to be a top 10 running back. Where do you stand on Devonta Freeman?
Yeah, look, I like Devonta Freeman this season. I don't think there was anything on tape that showed me he lost a step. He's not old. I think that he's going to be the primary beneficiary of a good offense in the running game. I actually think he right now is a great value. He is the guy that when you look at, you're in a draft and you're kind of staring down the Devonta Freeman, LeSean McCoy decision. A lot of times people are like, okay, they're saying that I think LeSean McCoy has a high probability of being a bust this year, but who do you take instead when he's guaranteed this volume? To me, that answer is Devonta Freeman. He dealt with a few injuries last season when he got back weeks, 12 through 16, once the offense had found out who they are. This was a new coordinator. You had a guy, 1,120 rushing yard pace, plus over 50 receptions, over 500 yards receiving. The pace was good at the end of the season for Freeman.
Last year was a poop sandwich. If you look at his weekly contributions, he had his first 4 weeks inside the top. He was a 1 or 2. Then he disappointed through the middle of this season, and then from weeks 14 through 17, he had some pretty solid finishes, including a 4th and 5th finish in the fantasy playoff range, depending on your league. I still take McCoy if it's me, but you know that you and I disagree pretty profoundly about LeSean McCoy this year. Thanks to you and your ranking, he's not even in our top.
I love what you're going to say.
He's not even in our top 25.
Fantastic.
So good work.
Yeah, thank you.
You've done a disservice to
all shady truthers.
Shady truthers. Yeah. All right, number 19, Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas.
All right, right now he's the 15th overall according to average draft position, so we actually have him as a consensus down a little bit from the consensus, about the same range. Most receptions ever for the first 2 seasons of a career, 196 receptions. All he's done is gone out and finished 7th and 6th in fantasy in his 2 seasons and been one of the more consistent fantasy wide receivers available, even if his slow start last year kind of dissuaded you from thinking he was a dominant force.
Yeah, I mean, the consistency is there for him, and the reality is this. His rookie year, he had 9 touchdowns. This is a guy with unbelievable hands, and we saw a major change for the Saints last season. They threw the ball less. They ran the ball more, around the goal line. They were not in these crazy shootouts where they've got to come from behind. So the passing touchdowns were down for Drew Brees, but I think they were down further than we're going to see this year. I'm not a huge Brees believer this season.
No, you don't believe it. Like Mike believes that Brees is going to fully rubber band back to the days of glory.
Right, and I 100% do not
Which I
believe
actually
that.
don't believe either. I do think that he was disproportionately the pendulum had swung into kind of an odd area last year where the running backs were so good and just the way that the game came by way of scoring for the Saints, I think that will rebound. But look, his passing attempts overall were way down. That's why I'm kind of on your side on that. But yeah, Thomas is look, last year with the passing attempts going down as far as they went with Brees, he had 3, 5, 7, 10, 11 top 24 weeks in 16 weeks. And then he didn't even kill you in those other weeks, 25, 32. I mean, what more do you want?
Yeah, you could lay it out like this. You have a guy, I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but very Josh Gordon-esque. Michael Thomas is ripped. He is jacked coming into this season. He's 6'3", 215 pounds. So you've got a big-bodied, super athletic guy who also happens to run some of the best routes out there, who also happens to have some of the best hands out there, who also happens to have a first-ballot Hall of Fame quarterback throwing him the ball as the primary target. your floor is high, and if he gets the touchdowns, which that's, we don't know.
But those are hard to predict.
Right, those are hard to predict. So I actually like Michael Thomas. I'm surprised that we are lower on him than the consensus average draft position. I'd have no problem taking him at that spot.
Doesn't seem like it's related to our,
dislike.
It's just other players I think that we like a lot.
Correct.
So we don't want to remind you right now as we get into number 18, who's Keenan Allen, by the way. Want to remind you about the Ultimate Draft Kit, the number one tool to prepare yourself to dominate your 2018 fantasy football draft. This has been our baby for the last 3 years. We're very proud of it. We're very proud of the amount of work that goes into it, 100-plus player profile videos. Price has always stayed the same, but we keep adding new features each and every year, so the value increases. And you're going to get all of the full projections. You're going to get all of our breakouts and busts and sleepers and values. You're going to get Matt Harmon's reception perception. You're going to get tools. We just added, actually on Friday, I added a bunch of tutorial videos so that if you're confused about how to use tiers to draft, if you're confused about how to use the top 200 or how to use risk ratings, all of those details are in there so that you don't have to feel like, oh my goodness, I have all this information, I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
We want to equip you so that you're ready to go for that draft, and this is the way you do it. So check it out at ultimatedraftkit.com. It's your opportunity to get it now here in July as we head into draft season and be prepared.
Yeah, and I would just add to that as a special Easter egg, if you are considering using the top 200 in the Ultimate Draft Kit, definitely watch that tutorial. I highly recommend that tutorial to help you learn how to use that as the draft tool of some choice. Also, hey, Pristine Auction, big, huge shout-out to them. They are the best place to get cool things, like whether it's a gift, whether it's something for yourself. If you want something that is like amazing, a room setter, a room changer, go look at what they have on their auction. It's all 100% authentic signatures on crazy memorabilia. It doesn't matter if you want Joe Montana
Saquon Barkley,
Hannah Montana. I mean, you just go
sure
whatever you want. But look at some of the stuff that went yesterday. We always pull these up fresh for every time we talk about them because every day it's different. A Stefon Diggs signed Color Rush jersey, which is hot, $60 sold on auction yesterday. Adam Thielen Color Rush, we're only talking to Vikings fans here, $62 yesterday. I mean, this stuff is crazy. A Titans mini helmet signed by Corey Davis, $43. Hundreds every day. Check it out. It's free to register. It's free. It doesn't cost you unless you win. So go make a bid. Make sure when you sign up for your completely free account that you let them know that the fantasy footballers told you to go.
Sent you. All right, Keenan Allen comes in at 18 on the top 20 consensus, 18 on our list, 16 on the average draft position. Look, last year was a banner year for Keenan Allen, especially over the second half. Here's his finishes from week 11 on: 2, 4, 4, 21, 40, 30, and 1 in week 17. Last year, we saw the report with Phillip Rivers once again. Matthew Berry just came out with his 100 Facts article. He does that every year. It's a great article, but it highlights so many of the things about Phillip Rivers that we love, his consistency over the last several years, and he simply needs the weapons to get the job done. He has one in Keenan Allen. Much like Michael Thomas, you're talking about Hall of Fame caliber quarterback, number one option, great hands, great competitive nature. That's what I love about Keenan Allen and Michael Thomas. They are out there fighting tooth and nail on every single play. To believe in Keenan Allen is to believe that he will stay healthy, but we saw a good year from him last year. And then it's to believe that this offense is going to continue to be able to funnel through Phillip Rivers.
Here's what we haven't seen. We haven't seen Keenan Allen play football and be bad. Right? Maybe his
We've
sophomore
seen him
year,
not play football and be bad.
Yes, exactly. That's
much
my
like
point.
myself.
If he's on the field, he's going to be great, and I believe he's on the field. He played a full set last year. There are so many examples in history of injury-prone players getting that label early in their career who then become Ironman. Frank Gore is an Ironman. He doesn't miss anything. He doesn't miss a practice. He plays every game, every year. In the beginning of his career, he was injured, and people are saying, well, he'd be good if he could stay on the field.
Forte was like that too.
Matt Forte was, and wide receivers too. I mean, Demaryius Thomas, Julio Jones, always so injury-prone, can't stay on the field. Keenan Allen has that moniker, and it's about to go away. I mean, I believe after this season, you're not going to get any kind of discount on Keenan, and you're barely getting it now. But I love Keenan Allen.
Right now, he's the 16th overall player, the wide receiver 6 off the board.
What is crazy to me is that of the three of us, sorry, Jay, I'm including Mike here
instead of
Jay Griz.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know who has him the lowest? It's Mike, who has spent years being the Keenan Allen truther, and now he has every opportunity.
So you're saying he hates him?
I'm saying, Mike, why do you hate Keenan Allen?
Okay, clearly doesn't want to defend himself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he would have submitted a voicemail answer.
Yeah, but he doesn't. He hates Keenan. Is there any downside to Keenan? I mean,
no.
Yeah,
no, there's not a downside to Keenan. He's the primary target. Obviously, losing Hunter Henry, maybe teams focus on him even more. But Henry really hadn't had his breakout yet, and there are other weapons. Mike Williams should offer up some presence on the other side. You have deep threats in Travis Benjamin and in Tyrell Williams. So, no, Allen is bona fide solid. The only argument that people can make against him is the possibility that he gets hurt. That's it.
And you can make that argument against any player.
Including Christian McCaffrey, who comes in
Christian McCaffrey could get hurt.
Number 17. That was not the voice of public opinion.
No, that was
Sam Bradford from last year.
Yes,
that was I don't want to learn your playbook.
That's right. You recognize it.
McCaffrey, he's 17 ADP overall, 17 on our list of the top 20. Led all running backs with 113 targets in 2017. That was 22.6% of the team's targets. Question number 1 for you, Jason, as he finished the 11th best running back last year in PPR leagues. Question for you: do you believe that the return of Greg Olsen and the selection of DJ Moore will impact that target share percentage? Do you think that Christian McCaffrey will come back? You think after 1 year we'll be looking at 22.6% of the team's targets?
No, I don't think so. He was clearly a beneficiary of a lack of other legitimate targets. Now, that is not to say that I think he's going to go down to 70 targets. He's going to be around that 100 target number. But 22% of the targets for a team coming from a running back is not, that's not the norm. That's reserved for wide receivers. Greg Olsen has always been his number one target. Didn't have him for half the year. There are some, I'm all in on Christian McCaffrey, but we need to pump the brakes a little bit and just recognize that there are some red flags. Okay, Christian McCaffrey, he was not the most efficient runner last season. But in addition to that, there was a lot of hype when Jonathan Stewart was gone, but and that shot him up the rankings. But then they signed C.J. Anderson, and it did nothing to dissuade the average draft position of McCaffrey. And C.J. Anderson is, every bit. He's a far better player today than Jonathan Stewart was last year, in my opinion. And you have a different offensive coordinator, and like you said, DJ Moore, Greg Olsen. There's a lot of – I feel like Christian McCaffrey right now is being drafted where he's okay to be drafted there, but the risk is higher than it seems.
I don't feel very concerned about him just because he is that kind of jack-of-all-trades type of player. Last year, Carolina, for perspective, was the 12th best team in the NFL by way of points per game, 19th in yards. I think if you put those weapons back on the team, you're seeing them more often in the red zone, more opportunities to score. Look, every time that Cam Newton takes a snap in the red zone, you have the threat of handing that ball off to McCaffrey, of screen passes to McCaffrey. You have Funchess, DJ Moore, and then obviously Newton can run. I think that, look, I'm a big Carolina fan this year. I've already talked about Cam Newton before. It's very likely he's going to repeat as a my guy candidate for me because I think he's the perfect combination of that draft value and top-end talent. And McCaffrey's going to be the primary weapon. You can't bring DJ Moore in and make him the primary weapon right out of the gate. So I have more confidence. I don't think he's as risky as you think he is, but obviously we all have him very high at 17. Now 16, hard to say there's not more risk in a guy that hasn't done it yet, but Jerick McKinnon, running back for the San Francisco 49ers, comes in at 16. His average draft position right now is 21 when you look at drafts taking place. So we have him quite a bit higher, 5 spots higher than the consensus. This is all about prognostication. I mean, we are moving into a brand new offense for Jerick McKinnon under Kyle Shanahan, and we are basically saying, look, they spent the money and we have confidence in Kyle Shanahan to make McKinnon valuable enough to be drafted 16 overall.
Well, and in addition to those things, it's also about what they didn't do. They had ample opportunity to draft another running back, to bring in another free agent running back. They are putting their confidence in Jerick McKinnon. And, look, Jerick McKinnon hasn't done it before, but you've seen spurts of him doing it. He finished, the running back 22 last year when he wasn't. I mean, he clearly at the beginning of the season, it was the Dalvin Cook show. When he was given the opportunity, he actually succeeded with it, which was a surprise to me. I've never been a huge McKinnon truther, but you can't argue his athleticism. I mean, he's a 90-plus percentile athlete. He's a freak. And when Kyle Shanahan goes out and picks a guy who is really good at pass catching, here's the one thing you do know with him is that he's game flow, safe. If they're up, he's going to be the guy that they're using. If they're down, he's going to be the guy they're using. You're hoping that you're getting a Devonta Freeman, from the Falcons, that type of well-rounded type of player. Obviously, very different body style between those two guys. But I think with the pass catching, with the athleticism, the only risk here is injury. And we talked about it with Keenan Allen. I mean, can you see him staying healthy and just flat disappointing, just being think of
I don't think so. I think
Isaiah Crowell last year.
Right. No, it's possible. I mean, but last year what we saw was almost a leveling up of Jerick McKinnon. He has always been that spark score guy. If you look at his elusive rating, which is that I think PFF came up with that, right? It's missed tackles forced by a running back, trying to distill those numbers down. Pre-2017, his elusive rating was 39.7. Last year it was 51. So you saw a more elusive Jerick McKinnon. I think that's what Kyle Shanahan saw. I think that's why you had a 4-year, $30 million contract going his way. And so they are putting all of their eggs in that basket. So for me, if Kyle Shanahan, an offensive mind, puts all the eggs in the basket of Jerick McKinnon, I'm willing to put a lot of mine in there.
Yeah, I mean, Carlos Hyde was the running back 9 last year for the 49ers.
I lied to you, by the way. Do you know who number 15 is on our list?
Oh, no!
LeSean McCoy!
Oh, come on!
You thought you knocked him out of the top 25?
One can dream.
Oh, no.
The reality is,
LeSean McCoy, we have him at 15. The consensus out there has him at 22. So despite you, Mike and I have pulled Shady up into the rankings.
Well, the reality is, even with LeSean McCoy, I'm projecting health, right? Like there's very rare cases when we stat guys out, Jordan Reed being one, Tyler Eifert being one, where I go, I'm not going to give them 16 games in my, statting them out for the season. With LeSean McCoy, I did. I gave him 16 games.
Well, you should. He's been – just because he limps off the field doesn't mean he's not reliable.
I would agree with that. I mean, look, you can't argue with the guy who's done it year in and year out, over and over and over.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
he's
16,
clearly,
16, 12, 15, 16 in the last 5 years.
There's no way if he stays healthy that he doesn't get 315 touches. The reason that I'm so against LeSean McCoy is obviously not volume. It's all the arguments I've made in the past.
No, look, stuffed 80 times last year and loses offensive linemen. I get it.
Lowest yards per carry of his career last season, and I just don't see how the Buffalo Bills offense
can you picture
does anything.
A situation where they score?
Where just at all? Like, no, I
think that's the problem, though, and we talked about this previously. Nobody can visualize what happens there. Kelvin Benjamin's ADP is low. We don't know who the quarterback is. Tyrod's gone. You have injuries. You have missing offensive linemen. And yet this was a playoff team where I have some confidence in the coaching staff to figure it out. I think we don't see the picture now. Right now the glasses are foggy, and no matter how much you wipe them, you can't find a touchdown anywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
you have to agree with that part.
I 100% agree with that.
But you just assume that the glasses are never getting clear, and I'm thinking they might get clear.
I mean, he'll have some good games. I'm not opposed to drafting him, but if he gets off to a hot start, I'm 100% trading him. I just think that the team is –
10 games
you've said this a bunch.
In the top 21 last year.
This has been one of our tips before is, running backs on good teams. You'd rather have the running back on a good team. Now, it's helpful that he's a great pass catcher.
I'll remind you they're a playoff team.
Oh, come on. Well, they're not.
One of the only playoff teams with a negative point differential.
Yes, they were a playoff team. They are not a playoff team.
What, do you need to put on the do you need to put on the hate bra? I mean, if he's 15.
No, I would
You're
never.
holding off.
Yeah, I would never take him at 15 here.
14, Kareem Hunt on our top 20 countdown. Average draft positions 10 overall. We're a little lower on Kareem Hunt. He had the highest percentage of running back attempts for any team in football last year with 86%. That is the alarm bell, regardless of how good you are. That is the alarm bell of regression.
Yes, for sure. There's a lot of flags here. You and I, Andy, have him basically as the last RB1. I've got him 12. You've got him 13. Mike is pushing him up here. Mike's got him still at number 6. And I will say this in Mike's defense. When you watch the tape last year, Kareem Hunt was incredibly hard to take down. He bounced off that first tackle. He had balance. He had vision. He can catch the ball. I don't have any doubts. No doubts, no hesitation, no reservation on the talent of Kareem Hunt. You add him to the fact that he's an Andy Reid-led team who usually has a very productive running back for fantasy,
yes.
And there's no reason to think, okay, maybe he regresses a little bit, but that he's going to be bad, right? Last season,
I don't think he's going to be bad.
No, and the argument is there's no way he has the snap percentage, the touch percentage of running back totals this season. That wasn't what the Chiefs were planning to do. They were planning on having – I mean, I was ready before the season, right before the injury, to say, look, Spencer Ware is a huge value in this draft. And then as soon as he went down, I pumped Kareem Hunt like crazy. But now they went out. They've got Spencer Ware hopefully coming back. They signed Damian Williams. They signed Kerwin Williams. This is a team that's showing with their money that what happened last year, while it worked out, is not what they are trying to replicate.
Yeah, not to the 86% tile. And I will adjust my Kareem Hunt based on the health of Spencer Ware. In fantasy, you don't need to make a declaration on July 2nd of exactly what Kareem Hunt's going to be. You can wait and see. I mean, that's what you have to do. Right now, I have to imagine that percentage comes down. Right now, I think that the big plays probably come down a little bit, and you got Pat Mahomes back there with some uncertainty. That doesn't mean he's not great. It just means he might not. I don't think he's worthy of being the 10th overall pick.
Here's a question for you, Andy.
Ooh, I like questions.
Yeah. Does Kansas City score more or less points this coming season as an offense? More touchdowns or less touchdowns? We'll say that way.
Probably.
The defense is going to be a little worse.
I think probably less. Last year they were 6th overall.
So do I. I mean, last year you had a career year from Alex Smith, a veteran quarterback, knowing the system, playing out of this world.
Yeah.
I just don't see where Kansas City is at where they were last year offensively with a new, for all intents and purposes, rookie. Even if Pat Mahomes is great, I feel like the offense will take a slight step backwards.
San Diego. Los Angeles, the Chargers are better. Denver's going to be better.
Shout out to San Diego. I just got back.
Yeah, you had a little trip?
I had a little trip. It was good.
Got yourself toasted?
Got my sunburn on.
Oh, my gosh.
You know those things where you know on paper.
Right.
Like I know that when the sun is blocked by clouds, you can still get a sunburn. I've heard that before. But when you're out there and it's cool and the sun's not out, you just don't put on the sunblock. And then later you go, yeah, I knew we had the sunblock with us. My bad.
Of all the things I've ever heard from, that has to be the biggest mistake that happens by the most amount of people, is the sunburn. Everybody I know, they're like,
we all know the sun can burn us,
right? But
and we've all had sunburns.
Yeah.
So put the two together.
Number 13, Leonard Fournette. Right now he's the 12th overall by ADP. We have him at 13. One of only 6 running backs with over 300 touches. And it was look, when he played, he was generally a top 15 guy. He missed a couple games, week 7, week 9, had the bye week in between. So you didn't have, and then when he came back, barely played, 42nd ranked running back in week 10. So you had we talk about Kareem Hunt's dead middle of the season. We ignore a little bit of Fournette's because he fully missed those games, and we don't really hold it against him.
You didn't plug him into the lineup and get,
No, but reliability is something you do have to hold against him a little bit. The Jags invested in Andrew Norwell, one of the steals of the offseason, offensive guard, one of the best in the league, leaving Carolina. So Fournette, I mean, I think we all think he's solid, and I think we all have the opinion of, I don't know, he's basically a 300-touch guy on a better team than Shady is.
I love Leonard Fournette. The worry that I've shared before is...
Have you told him?
I haven't. Hold on, let me make a note. Call Leonard. Oh. Mr. Fournette. Leonard, if I may.
Lenny.
I really, really, really like you in 2018. Much has been said about your soft tissue issues, your ankles, your whatever. But you're a beast. Your team is great. Your offensive line is better. Your main backup last year is gone.
I like hearing this from you. I feel like it was a slow
it is.
acceptance of Leonard Fournette's value.
Yes, certainly. I've not been the one leading the way on Fournette. But when I look at this, what we're doing here is all about probability. We're just trying to play the odds, and odds are always in the favor of volume. He's going to get the bulk of the production from the Jaguars, who appear to be a good team. They have a good schedule again this season.
I got a snake, man.
Blake Bortles is opening things up. I mean, we're always saying, what wide receivers are going to be? Could it be Moncrief? Is Keelan Cole going to be involved? Is it going to be Marquise Lee? Is it going to be D. Westbrook?
No, it's going to be Lenny.
It's going to be Leonard Fournette. So, in the first few rounds, sure. I know in our live event we even talked about him being a higher probability of a bust, but that was due to injury.
Sure.
If he plays, you're never going to be unhappy with him in your lineup.
You almost sound like you were tearing up there for a second. He just means so much to you.
It just means so much.
All right. Let's do our cooking by the book. Number 12, Dalvin Cook, running back for the Minneapolis, as I call them, the Minneapolis,
the Minneapolis Vikings.
Oh, goodness. You remember when they used to be the Phoenix Cardinals?
Nope.
Do you really not remember that?
Nope.
They weren't the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, you're saying I thought you were saying, do you remember when the Minnesota Vikings were the Phoenix Cardinals?
No.
Because it never happened.
They used to be called the Phoenix
Yes, I remember
Cardinals.
that.
Ironically, they played in Tempe. They didn't even play in Phoenix.
Yeah.
So they changed. They
And now-
broadened it out.
Now they're the Arizona Cardinals that play in the University of Phoenix Stadium that is in Glendale.
Yeah, they got it all messed up.
All right.
They're
Cardinals.
changing them to the Southwest Region Cardinals. That's what they're going to adapt it to.
So Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook, right now, we have him at 12. He's 13 by ADP. He averaged 15 fantasy points per game. Was the running back 9 when he got hurt. So Dalvin Cook is an investment in a talented running back returning from injury on a great team.
I have been all about Dalvin Cook this offseason because I'm a believer. I am truly a believer. But I thought when that started out, I was going to be so much higher than the consensus, and I thought he was going to be left for dead because he missed so much of the season to injury, and people wouldn't remember the start he got off to. And much to, well, I guess not much to my surprise, but to my surprise, that hasn't happened. He's being drafted as the 10th running back off the board.
Very high.
And at that spot, I don't actually love him. Now, can he finish there? Am I projecting him up near there? Absolutely. But everyone we're talking about the top 20. There's nobody here that we're going through that sucks, who's not good, who doesn't have the opportunity. So when and I know Mike and I differ on this, but when I'm in the early rounds, I usually draft risk adverse because everyone's good. I'm just trying to avoid the landmines, not get the busts. And when I look at Dalvin Cook, there are some issues, right? One, he's coming back off of injury. I'm not too worried about that because of the length of time he's had to recover.
Yeah, he returned to team drills in early June. He's feeling good.
Lost the offensive coordinator.
Can't find him.
Where did he go?
Where is he?
We're going to have to hire a new one. And so they did. They hired a new one because they couldn't find their offensive coordinator. You have a healthy Latavius Murray, which you didn't have at the beginning of last season.
We haven't seen them play together.
So he might actually be taking the goal line work that Dalvin Cook had the opportunity for.
He may be taking some early down work just to, like 1 out of every 3 series, just to ease Cook's workload.
Cook's reminds me a lot of Christian McCaffrey, where I am totally fine with where they're going, but there are changing pieces and flags that say the potential probability of something changing and going wrong from our good expectations are more
He's not
evident.
safe enough for Brooks to draft, is what you're saying. Like,
Right,
we know that Brooks likes to nice and safe.
Yeah, he
so
keeps
Cook,
keeps it simple.
McCaffrey. They're the riskier items on the menu, so to speak.
Yeah,
if,
and they could definitely reward. But here's the thing with Cook.
Like
If
Brooks
he
would be like, I'll
rewards-
take a Dalvin Cook, but I'd like to remove the injury risk
Right.
and add in a little third down guaranteed value. And
Yeah.
now, no Jerick McKinnon
He'll
should
still
matter.
have the touchdown opportunities on the side.
On the
He'll say,
side.
can I get those on the side? I don't want to get rid of them because everyone will be angry.
That's
with me.
right. The Brooks has learned to save face during our meals. Instead of just ordering the plainest thing possible, he orders something, takes everything off, puts it on the side.
He's still getting it.
Yeah.
Still want to try it.
Right. Still want to try it. But you never touch that stuff.
No.
you and I both
You
know
like
that.
looking at it on the side.
Here's the thing with Dalvin Cook. I don't think Dalvin Cook ends the year as I think a very low probability of him being a top 5 running back. I don't think that the total offense is going to need that. I don't think the goal line will be there. Now, can he be an RB1? Absolutely. I've got him pegged as an RB1. But the point is, at this position, you're kind of drafting him assuming that everything goes great.
Well, if he's healthy, he's almost a guaranteed top 15.
Right.
But he's not. Yeah,
But he doesn't
I'm
have
with you.
Whereas Leonard Fournette, I could see Leonard Fournette at the end of the season having 18, 19 touchdowns and
Yes.
being the running back
Sure.
one. So you've got risk in both guys. Why not take the guy that has the higher ceiling?
All right, number 11, Julio Jones.
Julio!
All he's done since 2012 is finish in his healthy years 11, 8, 2, 6, 4 at the wide receiver position. In other words, that's where he's going to finish again, guys. Even last year in a season where Sarkisian tried to give him the ball in the red zone, he couldn't come down with it, still finished number 4.
Yeah.
And yet, the worst number 4 you've ever had.
For sure the worst number 4 you've ever had. I mean,
5 of his 16 weeks inside the top 17.
yeah, that's it.
What?
It's because when he had his big monster games, they were 200-plus yards, multi-touchdowns, monstrous games that won you a week, but he was very, very inconsistent. I am 100% willing to throw last year in the garbage when it comes to Julio Jones' consistency. His target volume, he is not – like Golden Tate is a guy where year after year after year after year, you have a 90-plus reception guy who every single year is super inconsistent, and you can't bank on him in most weeks. That's not who Julio is. Julio had this really up-and-down season last year, and that was with a new coordinator, a new system, sometimes trying to force the issue to him. I think coming into year 2 of the system, I actually really like Julio Jones this season. I mean, he's a guy you've usually had to draft near the 5th pick in a draft, and I see him drop into the turn at, the 12-201 turn. I love him there.
Okay. Odell Beckham Jr. at number 10. I remember him. Pretty good. 6, 5, 4. That's what 2014, 2015, 2016 looked like from a fantasy finish perspective for Odell Beckham Jr. We have him at 10. He's the 11th overall right now by average draft position, and he has at least 90 receptions and 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns in each of his first 3 seasons, not counting the injury-destroyed year last year. So,
yeah, his 16.
he's pretty good.
he's very good. I mean, even his first 2 years, both years, he didn't play 16 games. His 16-game pace as a wide receiver is 107 receptions for over 1,500 yards and 13 touchdowns. There's a reason, despite the injury, he's ahead of Julio Jones in our rankings. You can't sleep on Odell Beckham. This is going to be one of the cheapest prices you get on Odell Beckham because,
Yes.
I mean, if he played healthy last year,
And there's
he
no
would be
reason to believe he's going to be hurt or get hurt again. He had 3 full healthy seasons. This happens.
I still have Odell Beckham ahead of DeAndre Hopkins this season. My worry, and the worry that you can have in Odell Beckham, is Eli Manning. Eli Manning has trended in the wrong direction the last several years. And if the trend continues and Eli is done, then obviously that's going to be a very big hardship for Odell Beckham. But it's not like he hasn't had the same Eli Manning we've seen over those seasons and produced those numbers we talked about. So Odell Beckham, and to be honest, I think that the overall offense is going to be better, and I think that helps. People are worried, Saquon's going to take touches away. Now you've got, Evan Ingram to take touches away, targets away. Odell Beckham's getting his, period.
All right. Hey, let's hit the pause button. Let's get into the mailbag. We'll count these down on the Thursday show and finish them out. You want to answer some questions?
Sure.
Who's going to take this one? How about the people of Minneapolis?
Oh, snap.
Mailbag.
That is awesome.
Oh,
hey, Dallas, 2 weeks.
You got to bring it, Dallas.
Go to ballerslive.com. Get your tickets now. You can get a combo ticket as well for the NFFC if you're going to be partaking in that. But
Dallas is a week from Friday?
yes, sir.
Okay.
It's coming up.
That's very soon. All right, let's jump into the mailbag. If you have a question, go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com, click the Submit a Question button, or, if you prefer, pick up your phone, dial our voicemail hotline, 302-464-TFFB. We're going to kick it off with a voicemail.
Hey, ballers. So I recently joined a Footpan League Dynasty startup
Heck
and
yeah.
it's a Superflex League. So my question is, how does your drafting strategy change for Superflex and 2 quarterback leagues, and when are you looking at drafting your first quarterback? Thanks. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, we talk so much about late-round quarterbacks that this question comes up a lot. People want to know, how do you adjust your strategy when you have 2 quarterbacks? I mean, because any Superflex league, you're starting 2 quarterbacks 99% of the time, and it affects the strategy completely.
It affects the strategy in one way, and that is what you need at the end of your draft. But it does not affect the strategy as far as draft strategy because it's still tier-based. You're still drafting tier-based. And like you said, Andy, if you've got the UDK, you've got our tiered rankings, we've got a tutorial now for how to utilize that. But the change that happens is usually I only want 1 quarterback, period, and I'm planning to stream them. In a 2-quarterback league, I want 3 quarterbacks. So I've got to plan ahead and make sure that by the end of the draft, you have to watch when.
And the reason you want that is because they're all going to get drafted.
They're all
in a Superflex league, you need to be able to have the flexibility to stream between your 3-pack as opposed to using the waiver wire to stream because they're all going to be drafted. And I normally try to get one good one in the top 3 rounds.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do the try to get one of those great guys. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers dropped to the end of the first in a multi-quarterback, Superflex type league, that's okay to take him there. I am still probably waiting several rounds. The reason I want 3 specifically is because I'm drafting them later. So like Jameis Winston would be a great 3rd drafted player in a normal Superflex league because he's going to go late since he's missing those first 3 weeks. You can get him at a great value, and you could pair him with a Kirk Cousins and a whoever.
Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, someone really late that I like as well, and this will gross you out. But Ryan Tannehill is, they're all going to get drafted. And this is a guy you can get super late. He's basically the last one drafted, and I think his value, or Eli Manning as well.
Yes.
Those are guys you can get very, very late. Now, in a dynasty, it's different. Jameis won't go as late because he's still young. But, you want I would try to get 3 if you can, but it's still tier-based. Don't overemphasize the quarterback.
Yeah, and if you do select one in the top 3 or 4 rounds, which I always recommend in these league formats, that's when you can kind of adapt and treat our late-round strategy at that point. Once you have one on your roster, you can kind of treat it the same way where you're trying to get best value on those 2nd or 3rd guys. All right, Jammin in Clovis, California says, I know I'm in a league as the guy that pays attention to football all year, and everyone comes to me during the draft to ask about strategy and players to pick. Is it fair for me to feed them bad advice?
Oh, man.
So he's known in his league as the guy that pays attention all year, and they ask for advice. So is it fair to feed them bad advice? Here's the thing. Wow, this is the wrong person to be talking about this, too, because I know Jason will win at all costs. But is it fun to beat somebody you told to draft the wrong player?
Oh, man. So fun.
Brooks,
so fun.
What do you think?
Well, yeah, where are you at, Brooks?
I think say whatever you want.
Wow.
Oh, all right. Yeah, the truth
it is on them.
Yeah, it's going to be here's where I would genuinely to give a real answer. I would differentiate it between whether this is a long-time league full of people that play and they've, been in it for a while but they don't pay enough attention or, they just stink at it versus a newer league with people trying to start out and figure it out. Because if this is
you don't
a
win
newer
it at
league,
the draft anyway.
Right, that's true. If this is a newer league with people getting into fantasy football for the first time, I want to help them. I want to support them. I want them to enjoy fantasy football and succeed. So I'll give them good advice. Look, if you print out an extra Ultimate Draft Kit cheat sheet, we see people do that, and they give them to their friends and say, hey, here you go, man. This is the best info.
In all the land.
In all the land. Draft the best you can. But
especially if you're the commissioner of the league.
Oh, certainly.
Too. They didn't specify that.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But if this is a league you've been in for 3-4 years and most of these guys are buds, I'm tricking them to the best of my darn ability, and I will make sure that I come out on top and that I will step on them because that is also fun.
Normally, I will say this. Normally, you can make an argument for anything. There's enough storylines out there to make an argument for everything. So, make your argument.
There you go.
All right, Tyler in Missouri wants to know, hey, guys, I keep finding myself reaching for Mark Ingram. If I can withstand a couple victories out of the first 4 games, will he pay off in the long run?
Well, yes, if you can withstand the victories. I mean, this is a perfect withstanding victories quote player. I don't like taking Mark Ingram this season because I still feel like he's going a little bit high for the fact that I'll have him, one of the first 6 weeks because I think they've got a bye in there. And so I'm going into week 7 having 1 game of Mark Ingram. Now, if I go into that week and I'm 5-2, great. Mark Ingram is going to help me on my title run. But you've got to sacrifice something to get there. And if all of a sudden, you're 3-5, or I guess going into week 7, you would not be 3-5. But if you're under 500 and struggling, you're going to have wished you didn't have him. So this is know your league. Do you usually dominate? Like if you usually dominate this league, and you're better than them, like the last question, and he's like, oh, these guys stink. They don't know their stuff. Then maybe grab Mark Ingram. Stash him for a little bit.
I'm not reaching for him.
Yeah, I'm definitely not reaching for him.
Definitely not reaching.
He's 29 years old, and there is still the world where someone comes in. I don't think Terrence West is going to light the world on fire, Jonathan Williams, but maybe his role isn't quite the same when he gets back. I expect that it will be the same.
Sure.
But there's still the world where that doesn't happen, and then you had to hold on to
he's
a
a
guy.
free agent, isn't he, after this season? So, there's a work him out of the system unless – I mean, they're going to do what they need to win and to use him, but there is risk there is kind of the point. All right, before we close out the show, I do want to remind you, you heard it in the introduction, but if you can go to footclanvote.com and nominate us, the 2018 Podcast Awards.
For both the People's Choice and the sports categories.
Yeah, we are back-to-back champions of the podcasts, or the People's Choice and the sports category, and I believe if we three-peat, we'll no longer be eligible.
Yes, which is the goal.
So just make it happen.
Yeah, well, you guys have made it happen the last 2 years. It is
the
really
power
because
of the Foot Clan.
You guys are great. And, hey, Foot Clan, we want to see you at Dallas. Go to Ballers Live.
At Dallas.
In Dallas?
Yes. I would go with in Dallas.
All right. Well, I want to see you in Dallas,
there you go.
Texas. Time is running out, so go to ballerslive.com. The shows are a great time. We'll hang out with you after the show. You won't be disappointed. ballerslive.com.
All right, that is it for today's episode. We'll count them down on Thursday. Make sure you tune in, and then draft.com/ballers is where you can play some sweet best ball.
Awesome best ball.
All right, guys. See you later.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.